One of the most important things that draws people to the Sonic series in the first place is Sonic himself. He's meant to be packed of attitude, a hyperspeed adventurer with a strong sense of justice, a hero to all, not for the fame or glory, but because he finds it fun and believes in the way of the righteous. He holds true to his beliefs, delivering swift justice and protecting the weak, and when he's done, he runs around the world to take in the sights before doing it all again. And be it through a truly likable hero, or an annoying power of friendship stereotype, this is the core of who Sonic is at all points. But one game defied this, and to an expected, awful effect. My name's Plymouth, and this is how Sonic Next Gen butchered a character. Before we can really delve into how this is the worst portrayal of Sonic's character, I'd like to talk for a second about what I consider his best, Sonic and the Black Knight. Throughout the entire game, Sonic is selfless even in victory. He spares Lancelot after he's defeated, prevents Gawain from killing himself at a Shane, saves Percival from falling into the lava, and even goes out of his way to burn time from his mission just to help out a crying child. He's constantly making vocal jabs at his sword Caliburn, and every line is delivered with this perfect amount of attitude.
I suppose something must be done about this.
What are you talking about?
My edge has grown blunt. Being in that rock for so long has taken its toll.
Ha! Not the sharpest tool in the shed, huh?
That's because a gentleman shouldn't have such an edge.
Gentlemen? Who are you calling gentlemen?
He damn near gets himself killed against Merlina due to his unwavering belief, of which he does his best to convince Merlina against her cause and turn her away from the darkness. This is how Sonic should be, and though sometimes in lesser degrees, this is what he has been. But, moving back to Sonic Next Gen, it follows none of these principles. First, I should mention the dynamic between Sonic and Elise. Elise herself is a rather boring character because rather than the story using her as a damsel in distress character, while she herself has a bit of actual character to her, she mostly just embodies the trope by herself, and this makes development impossible. Every time her and Sonic meet, it's either, oh, thank you for saving me, or she just kind of goes along with whatever Sonic's saying.
I'll head into the jungle.
Okay.
This puts her into constant contact with Sonic, which leads me to problem 1. Sonic's sole focus is on Elise. And while it isn't bad for Sonic to have one sharp focus like this, the dynamic it creates is one of a romance. The problem with this is that Elise not only has no real character traits, but because of this, Sonic doesn't have any traits to properly relate to her, which makes him feel super incompatible. And no, I'm not going to talk about the species thing, because that's honestly just a petty point if you ask me. It's just a fucking random story. Another issue is that, despite the very obvious intention of selling romance between the two characters, their interests aren't even aligned in the slightest. Elise loves Sonic because he's the guy that saved her, plain and simple, and she shows this often to the point where Amy is able to recognize it without even knowing the real details. Sonic, however, hardly even has emotions at all. Jason's line delivery is at its worst here, hardly any passion behind any line, and just coming off as rather forced and robotic. The only sign he ever shows is 2 moments of embarrassment, but even those look half-assed. Otherwise, it just feels like his only directive is to save the girl and nothing else. Even putting a stop to Eggman's schemes feels secondary. Problem 3 is how Sonic's all business here. He never has fun with anything. For example, speaking of Eggman, Sonic hardly even makes any quips to this guy. In the scene where Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles go to get Elise back from Eggman for a second time, when they walk in, Eggman starts off with, "You're late." Knuckles at least attempts to come back, but Sonic just goes, "Oh, where's Elise?" And again, when Sonic's in the egg carrier, he makes a weak, "Playtime's over," and that's it. He just goes, "Rip your ship's crashing." And with Shadow, okay, this is the best Sonic can muster, what I'm about to show you right here. You ready?
Don't be late. Same to you.
Not only was Sonic's quip actually kind of weak, but Shadow's is made even better because Sonic was actually late before that scene. And aside from this, Sonic never really properly interacts with anyone. When he meets Silver, just the, "Who are you?" and nothing else. Tails? Long time no see. Knuckles? In other games like Adventure, Unleashed, or even Forces, Sonic's serious about his mission but is still having fun with it, making quips, comebacks, and all the like. Here, it's as if the only thing he knows is saving Elise. There are like 3 moments where Sonic actually feels like Sonic, and it's the CG cutscenes. Completely ignoring how beautiful these look and how technically sound they are, they're the only scenes with a semblance of actual storytelling, at least within Sonic's campaign. Shadow and Silver have actual decent writing, at least as far as character development goes, but that's another video in itself. The first cutscene shows Elise lighting a giant statue at a festival in celebration. Seconds after this is done, Eggman begins to attack, and not long after that, Sonic appears just to do what he does best: save the day. It's better here than in the rest of the game because this is the first encounter. Sonic's still got an attitude here, with a sly smirk on his face, taking down Eggman's baddies and whisking Elise away. No sort of romantic connection is built here just yet, and it's no different than Sonic's first encounter with anyone else he's trying to save. Middle of the campaign, another plays with Sonic and Elise running through a forest. He decides to finally bring Elise back to the castle, much to her dismay. Sonic, noticing her reaction to this, takes a slight detour to a lake with a tree standing before them, bloomed with white flowers. Here, he is displaying his joy for seeing the sights around the world and sharing it with someone he's been devoting a lot of his time to. Elise herself even hints to her own development in this scene, but without any real development within the rest of the story, feels kind of out of place. The last CG scene in Sonic's campaign takes place on a crumbling egg carrier. Again, here, Elise attempts to show development by reinstating a lesson taught by Sonic himself, but as with the last scene, no real development occurs to back this up throughout the story. And Sonic himself is acting much like he did in the first cutscene though, moving fast and taking action as Sonic always does. When they're finally back on solid ground, Sonic helps Elise up and they share a moment of laughter. I love Sonic's dumb laugh here because it's sort of this ironic and goofy side to a character that otherwise does his best to act like this awesome person and be heroic to all. Could have even been better if Elise shortly poked fun at his silly giggle and they laughed even more about it. But these are only 3 scenes. Nothing else follows even close to this, so not only do these scenes seem out of place, but the in-game scenes end up being significantly worse. Not only by comparison, but just in their own right. It's just another example of how, despite how much I honestly love this game as a whole, it missed the mark on so many things, when it truly was shaping up to be a masterpiece.